Hey guys, welcome back to IMFL. This week we are bringing you 10 questions that you need to ask yourself before you say I do.
So the first thing to consider is how selfish am I? How selfish am I? A lot of the time we don't actually realize how selfish we are until we enter into such a long-term relationship. Now, this is one of the inward-looking questions that you must ask yourself before you say I do. Because marriage requires teamwork. Marriage requires you looking at yourself. You must think more we rather than I. You must think that everything that belongs to me now belongs to us. And that must be your mindset going forward. If you're not ready to have such a mindset, then actually you're not ready to enter into this I do relationship.
Ask yourself, are you ready to commit? What does commitment look like? Literally riding or dying with the person, no matter the circumstances, whether you are happy or not. Now, obviously, it's quite subjective. There are a lot of things that can come into play, like people talk about abuse and stuff like that. But in the long run, we're talking about being committed to a single partner until death do you part, basically. So before you say I do, you need to ask yourself, are you ready to commit to that person? No matter what comes your way, you are willing to stay committed in a relationship, to work through issues that come up, to enjoy the good days as well as the bad days, perhaps wanting to raise children in the marriage and so on. So these are all questions that you need to be able to ask yourself.
Am I shy of nakedness? Now, this one makes you think straight away about your body or body issues. But actually, it goes a bit deeper than that. There's a reason why the word nakedness, a lot of the time in the English language, is accompanied by the word truth. Naked truth. The naked truth, because that is everything there is to marriage. You must speak the truth at all times. You must be willing to be open about every single thing, every secret, every motive, every goal. Everything must be out in the open. You must look at the things that you've kept a secret or the things that you're fond of keeping as a secret. And all of a sudden, you're going to need to bring somebody else in. All of the things that are closures become open. Your bank account, how much you earn, the people that you're having conversations with, your friends, your long lost friends. All of these things become our secret. So straight away, you must ask yourself the question of how shy are you of nakedness? You must know that the person that you are going into this relationship with has an entitlement to know everything about you. So again, as I said, it's more than the body issues that we look at when we talk about nakedness. It's more about everything, being naked about every single aspect.
How greedy am I with money? That's a very, very key question. A lot of us can be quite greedy or quite selfish with money, particularly because of how we've been brought up or the fact that we were only sharing our money with ourselves at some stage before we got married. But the point of the matter is, once you are in a marriage or once you've said I do, you are now in a partnership. So it's not just you, it's you and that other person. So being able to be transparent, not just in, things that have happened in your past life, but also in your finances. So are you willing, my mouth was shaking then, are you willing to put your money together? Are you willing to let your spouse see into your account, to be able to open up your pay slips and see how much you earn every month? Are you gonna be willing to share whatever you make in the marriage, or even what you had made prior to saying I do with your spouse? Or are you going to say, okay, actually, I made this amount of money before I met you, or I had my property before I met you? Are you willing to be transparent and not be greedy with the things that you make in your marriage?
Another key question that you must ask yourself is, can I roll with you? Can I roll with you? Now, actually, as I say that, you're probably thinking about the person you're looking to say I do to. But no, it's not about can I roll with you as in that person. You're saying can I roll with you as in everyone else that you've always rolled with. All of your friends need to come into consideration. You're going to need to empty yourself of some friends. You're going to need to ask yourself that these people that I'm with now, would I be able to roll with them in the life I'm about to now enter into? Bad company corrupts good character. And if bad company corrupts good character, then you must know that in order to uphold a good character, some friends need to shift in order for you to be able to attain the good character that you need in your marriage. If there are friends that are with you just so you can spread some gossip, or friends that are with you that will probably discourage you when times of trouble comes, then you need to reconsider whether they can roll with you in this life that you're now entering into. Can I roll with you? Ask yourself that question.
Do you know your weaknesses? Now, that one is a key question you need to ask yourself. Everybody has weaknesses, nobody's perfect. However, a lot of us have the tendency to go on like we do not have weaknesses or that we do not acknowledge them. It's very, very key. The first stage to actually getting help for the weaknesses that you have is to acknowledge that you have those weaknesses. And we know that it's only God that allows us, or God that helps us to overcome these weaknesses. But God doesn't come from heaven to do that. He uses human beings. So your spouse is a focal point for helping you to overcome your weaknesses and grow in your strengths. But the only way you're going to be able to start that journey is if you are able to open up to your spouse. And that starts with you knowing yourself what your weak areas or your weaknesses are. So if you know what you struggle with and you can have a heart-to-heart conversation with your spouse, they can then help you or be that source of strength for you to be able to overcome those weaknesses. It's really, really key because it causes a lot of issues later down the line in marriage when weaknesses start popping up, and it's almost as if we forget all the good things that you are capable of or that you are doing, because your weaknesses can actually bring some level of strife into the marriage. So it's really important to go into marriage knowing what those weaknesses are so that when they do start to pop up, you know your exit routes.
Are there any red flags? This is a very, very important question. It's quite a broad question, but actually what you need to look at is all of the things that could cause a calamity in the marriage. All of the things that can cause a calamity. What do I mean by that? Actually, when you look at red flags, you're looking at some of the attitude-based issues with the person that you're looking to enter into, as well as the attitude-based questions that you need to look into in regards to yourself. One, are you able to subdue everything before this person? Are you able to be humble before this person? One of the worst things in marriage is actually thinking that you are perfect or thinking that the other person should be perfect. Sometimes these things are red flags. If you're getting involved with somebody who thinks that they're perfect or thinks that you ought to be perfect, straight away the marriage is being started on unrealistic expectations. And you know what? Somebody once said that marriage increases the potential for conflict and actually enhances anger. And so if you're somebody who gets angry very, very quickly at the little of issues, at the least of issues, I should say, then you need to realize that it's going to go 10 times more, or it's going to increase 10 times more in the marriage that you're entering into. Sometimes these things are red flags that you need to deal with. Doesn't mean that you need to exit, but it means that it's something that you need to talk honestly about and deal with before you enter into this covenant. So you need to be aware of all of the red flags, things that can cause a chaos in the marriage that you're about to enter into.
Now, this is cliche, guys. Can you learn to love your in-laws? Now, the relationship with in-laws can be quite dicey. It's a bit like Marmite. You either love them or you hate them. But because of the marriage and because of the success of the marriage, you need to be able to sort of meet in the middle somewhere. So, of course, there might be some relationships with in-laws that aren't very successful, that haven't started on the right foot. But at the end of the day, it's all about effort levels. How much effort are you willing to put in to be able to at least tolerate them? At the end of the day, you must say to yourself before you get married that it is their wedding, our marriage. It is your marriage. But when you marry someone, you basically marry everything about them, including their family. So your in-laws or their in-laws, however you want to put it, your in-laws becomes what am I even trying to say? Your in-laws are basically your family. They become your family, whether you like it or not. You can't just marry a person away from their family. They have come from a close-knit. Yes, you become their nuclear family, but their extended family doesn't just go away. So you need to be able to find some strategies to be able to live with them so that when they visit, when they come around to see grandkids and stuff like that, you can all have a cordial and mutual relationship.
Now, this one seems like the most obvious one. Am I ready to be a husband? Am I ready to be a husband? Now, with this particular one, I like to use the balance sheet mindset. Balance sheet mindset, because when you look at the balance sheet, you're going to find a few things on there. You're going to find assets on there. You're going to find liabilities on there. You're even going to find depreciation on there. And at times when you enter into a marriage, you must ask yourself as a husband, am I going to be an asset to this marriage, or am I going to be a liability? And, you know, as an asset, what would be my depreciation value? How quickly would I turn into a bad husband? You know, for some people, they can turn into a bad husband and then in 2 months into the marriage. You know, you must look inwardly as to whether you're ready to be sacrificial, to be a team player, to think about all of the things that we've already spoken about in this, but actually to think, am I ready to do this? Am I determined to do this? And one of the key things in marriage is to be quite reflective and be quite evaluative. You know, instead of deflecting responsibility, you must reflect on it and evaluate and see where you've gone wrong. Be honest with yourself as well, but be ready and be determined to be sacrificial in that marriage. That's when you know that you're a husband. You know, when as a husband, as a Christian, I firmly believe in what the Bible says, that a husband must love his wife as Christ loved the church. That means that you give yourself up in every aspect of the marriage. So you must be ready to do that. You must be ready to handle that, to say that truly I'm ready to be a husband. So before you say I do, make sure you tick this on the checklist.
Am I ready to be a wife? What does it mean to be a wife? In a nutshell, the Bible talks about a wife as a helpmeet. So the Lord says that he would have found a suitable helpmeet or helper for Adam. So as a wife, you need to say to yourself, okay, going into the marriage, before I say I do, am I ready to be a helper? Now, I'm not talking about being a helper to yourself or to your side of the family, being a helper to your husband. Having a productive mindset that helps your family, helps your finances, helps your spirituality, helps the emotional relationship or the emotional atmosphere in the marriage to grow. It is so, so key. So being able to go into a marriage, you must be prepared to be a wife. Now that means reading literature about being a wife. Marriage is an institution. So just like any other organization or institution, before you join, you will have to do some sort of induction or go through an induction process. It is the same with marriage. Before saying I do and, you know, walking into that role or that office as a wife, you must really know what you are getting yourself into. So read the right literature. The Bible is your go-to place to start with. Make sure you are praying about that role that you are going to fulfill so that the Lord can show you the different ways in which you can be successful in your role as a wife. But remember, the question is, are you really ready to be a wife? And that encompasses all aspects of being a wife and being a mother. So yeah, that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed our video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to IMFL. And until next time, we'll catch you later. Take care.